Welcome to Two Across, the podcast where two friends sitting on opposite sides of the Atlantic catch up over a crossword. I'm Theo Bosenkeck, sitting in London.
I'm Rob Cole, sitting in Montreal.
Hey, Rob.
Good evening, Theo. You are dwelling in darkness while I sit in the light.
While you bask in glorious sunshine. Yeah, we are now, we are today, for the first time in our 12, 13, whatever it is, episode history, recording in the evening UK time, which feels a bit odd, actually. Partly because I'm just so tired. I should be in bed, but instead I'm here talking to you.
I hope you've imbibed sufficient amounts of caffeine to be ready to tackle this week's crossword.
I'm not sure I have. I always drink coffee. I have a coffee cutoff, which is noon. If I drink coffee past noon, I get into trouble at night. So I pack it in during the morning hours. And I did do that this morning. I had about 5 this morning because I went out last night to a friend's book launch, which I might talk about a bit later.
Was this book launch one that ended in the pub, or?
Well, it took place in a bar, so it started off fairly rowdy. And the book is by a good friend of mine called Anushka Warden, and she's written a novel called I'm Effing Amazing. And I'm not bleeping the effing just for the sake of the podcast. I'm bleeping it because it is bleeped on the cover of the book as well. But it's really exciting. It's her debut novel. I think it's going to make a big splash. I certainly hope so. But it was just really lovely to be there celebrating with her. And, you know, I wanted to get into the spirit of things. So I was enjoying some free wine. I was getting a couple of rounds in at the bar. And a sign of how much I had actually enjoyed myself was when, towards the end of the evening, to my extreme embarrassment, I did that thing where you sort of, you know, where you go to like check your watch and you're holding a beer, so you end up spilling the beer on the floor. Well, I did that, only the beer also spilled onto a man's trousers as well as onto the floor. So I felt like such a plonker, and if he does happen to be listening, I do apologise profusely to the gentleman involved. And so I left rather with my tail between my legs. But it was a very fun evening, and a very roundabout way of explaining why today, especially this being now the nighttime hours, I'm not feeling top of my game, having as always had my customary early wake up call from the kids. But nevertheless, hopefully I can retain some kind of cognitive ability to work my way through a crossword. How's your time been since we last caught up?
Oh, absolutely nothing to report. It's been a number of carbon copy days stacked one against the other, more or less. I got out to the disc golf course on the weekend. That was cool because in Montreal, the weather barometer in the spring, which we're not quite there yet, is St. Patrick's Day. So March the 17th, we have a big parade. There's a big Irish community in Montreal. And that is the day that you can use as an annual barometer as to whether the groundhog is reported correctly and winter did indeed end early or extend late. So there's been St. Patrick's Day parades where I recall being 26, 27, getting absolutely wasted on the patio at Hurley's Irish pub on Crescent Street in 15-degree weather and stripping down to a t-shirt and jeans and thinking this was the greatest thing. And then I've had parades with my kids wearing snowsuits, shivering at minus 15 with a cold wind blowing. So anyway, the 17th was of the former persuasion. It was about 8 degrees. The sun came out in the middle of the day. We went down south and played some disc golf. That was the highlight of the week. But subsequently, the weather has plummeted, and today was minus 10 in the morning with a very severe wind chill factor. Wow. And my neighbor, Adley, when I got to the bus stop, looked at me dressed in my spring windbreaker and said, "What are you doing, man?" I hadn't read the memo. So anyway, just a couple of self-same days. My wife's back tomorrow from her journeys through the Low Countries.
Of course. You've been solo parenting in these minus 10 temperatures, just to add to your pain.
I have.
Yeah.
Yeah, it gets easier. I mean, mine are a bit older than yours, and it does get to a phase where they can be coaxed into helping or cajoled, and use sort of whatever method is at hand. So it could be the carrot, it could be the stick, it could just be completely losing your shit, which I have not pressed that button. I'm very proud of myself. In 2 weeks of solo fathering, I do not believe I've pressed the nuclear option yet. So this may be the first time that I've done so successfully while solo fathering.
Good
so
for you.
Patting myself on the back.
I had a similar thing recently where I realised that I was beginning to count the days since I'd last raised my voice in anger, like a smoker who's quit, and I'm like counting up the days. It's actually quite a good technique for anyone who is in the trenches of childcare and trying to sort of keep the lid on their emotions at times of stress. Just see it as like going through some kind of cold turkey sobriety where you just sort of tell yourself, just keep adding to the tally, I don't want to have to reset. I instead try and take my frustration out in other places. So last week I played some tennis. I got beaten very, very roundly, and I may have let the racket slip out of my hand at the end of the match in the direction of the fence. I'm a 41-year-old man, and I'm still... Yeah.
Say to listeners who only know Theo by the dulcet tones of his voice and think, what a gentle character. I was led to believe the same thing when I first met Theo, and then we went to play disc golf together, and I realized his competitive streak, which is very much a feature of his sportsmanship. He's actually a very good sportsman. You are a very good sportsman,
Thank you, Rob.
Theo.
But there is a monster. There's a monster within. I always say I'm not competitive until somebody gets competitive with me, and then I get very competitive. But you mentioned disc golf earlier. One of my favourite memories of you is when we entered a disc golf tournament together, when we were in the early throes of our, quite literally in the early throes of our passion for the sport. And I think, you let your emotions get the better of you that day, and I believe a bag was hurled at one point. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It went flying.
Bag of frisbees was... It's quite ironic, actually, throwing a bag full of frisbees, because they don't fly very well when bagged together.
No. It's a yard sale, too, because they kind of fly out at odd angles, and then you have to go and be that guy picking up his frisbees after his strop.
Oh, dear. Anyway...
I hope my kids aren't listening to this, because we've sanctioned them for their yard sales in tournaments. Yeah. My older son has, on occasion, thrown his entire bag into the forest, which we have turned into a family joke. And so if they actually listen to this and realize that I did it in a tournament, I'm done.
But he has the excuse of, being 12, whereas we probably should know better by now.
Exactly, yeah. I think I was 43 at the time.
So general apologies to all who may have seen us in our worst moments, including my recent tennis partner. But speaking of apologies, and we love an apology on Two Across, I also want to apologise for the sound quality last week of my microphone, which it turns out I've only just realised was not switched on. So hopefully this week you'll be able to hear me a little clearer. And it's still not a match for Rob, who has a professional studio setup, but hopefully the discrepancy will not be quite so stark today. So on that note, should we dive in?
Yeah, let's dive in. But one thing, Theo, just not to feel bad, I listen to a lot of podcasts. I think we both do. Yeah. And you often hear the hosts apologize for the sound quality. And I always think, like, they give sometimes a disclaimer. They say, oh, by the way, the guest's mic wasn't working properly, or you're going to hear a bit of hiss at the beginning, but whatever. I think that's just a matter of being behind the studio mixing board and getting too into the sound, because I never tend to hear those things so much. So anyway, if listeners want to give their opinion on that, it would be interesting to hear on @2acrosspod on X or Twitter.
Indeed.
Yeah, so should we start it off, Theo?
Let's do it. So today we're going to do quick crossword, Guardian quick crossword number 16,809, which I can already see has a pleasingly...
Quick question to our mathematics whizzes. Is 16,809 a prime number? Get back to us on @2acrosspod.
I'm going to say yes, just in the absence of any...
I have a feeling. I'm going to look that up after this.
Yeah, I do.
So you're saying the theme, Theo. The theme looked a bit...
The shape of the crossword is quite pleasingly symmetrical. those who want to play along will see for themselves.
It is.
On the Guardian website. It's
got a bit of a mandala thing going on today, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good word. Maybe that'll come up. Who knows?
Shall we dive into its labyrinthine tunnels?
Let's do it. I've set the timer off, 30 minutes. So let's go. You kick us off, Rob.
Theo, I'm going to go somewhere around the cross in the middle. So I'm going to start just randomly at 15 across. Like a coffee made from low-fat milk. So that is the 2 across way of saying that is a question mark.
Skinny is my guess.
Oh, man. You know what? I don't even think we need to check that. That's great. Let's put that in.
I say that because my wife's favourite coffee is a skinny flat white. And I always feel like a bit of a knob when I order it like that. But it is now just such common parlance in coffee shops that actually that is acceptable. Or maybe it's not acceptable. It probably depends where you are.
That is the common parlance.
It is the common parlance. I was going to say, incidentally, it's fitting we have a cross in the middle of our crossword, seeing as we are so near Easter. And,
we are.
We're acknowledging the season of crosses.
Let's try not to blaspheme too much during this season, because we do have that habit at Holy Days.
we should try and abstain from our G-bombs. Okay, 12 down. Terracotta colour, another question mark. Terracotta colour, 5-3. With an I as the third letter.
Something red, maybe.
Oh, yeah.
It could be something red, but here I can get you the last letter of that 5 because 18 across is Vonnegut or Weil, I guess maybe we would pronounce it, and I believe that would be
Kurt with a K. Lovely.
And that's URT, right?
Correct, yeah. And is it Vile or Veal or... I would say Vile, I think. Even though, I mean...
If it's German, it's definitely Vile.
It could be Vile, yeah. So terracotta colour has a K at the end of the first word. So something... It's obviously not this.
Space, I, space, K.
Yeah, but like stink.
Yeah, space, yeah. Stink red, yeah, something like that. I thought red could fit at the end, but let's give it a moment. Shook with laughter. 19 across, that's 9 letters.
Shook with laughter. What do you do when you shake with laughter? You sort of jiggle or vibrate, or there is a word, and it's not coming. But
no. Well, let's get back to it.
Yeah, let's not panic. 15 down. Resolve to pay brackets a bill. 6 letters, probably beginning with S. Resolve to pay a bill. Settle?
Ooh, yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's settled. It's resolved. And you settle a bill. Nice, Theo.
Thanks. I don't want to set myself up for a fall, but I feel like I'm on a roll this week. I did get some feedback actually from a friend recently on the podcast. He was like, I quite enjoy the podcast. You're rubbish at crosswords. I was like, yeah, fair. He was aiming that at me personally, incidentally, not at you.
Well, I think we can own that collectively, to be honest with you.
I was like, the point is not the crossword.
It's the bonhomie.
It's the bonhomie. I was about to say, if the point is the crossword, then we're definitely failing.
How about 7 down, Theo? A fashionable feature of Royal Ascot. And that is 9 letters with the ending being N space R space. And what do people wear at Royal Ascot? They wear hats. Isn't that where they have the horse races?
Yeah, they would wear top hats and, I don't know, feather boas or... No, we might need some more letters on that. Unless it's horse related, but...
I think we might need some more letters.
Let's have a little skip around until
Let's do that. Why don't we look at 3 down? Take out alone 6 letters.
You see, I briefly considered that, and then I skipped past it because I realised I thought I knew it. I thought it was lease, and then realised lease doesn't fit.
Well, it could be borrow.
Yeah, that's much more sensible. Let's pen that. That's a heavy pen.
Okay, we pen it in for now. Now, that gives us 11 across, a feeling of uncertainty starting with W. A feeling of uncertainty. It's 6 letters, and it begins with the letter W.
So you immediately think worry, don't you? But that doesn't fit.
Immediately. It does not.
A wibble?
A wobble?
I mean, we're back in PG Woodhouse territory here. I'm having a bit of a wibble, darling.
What about a wobble, Theo?
A wibble or a wobble? We're going to have to pick one.
One has a wobble. You know, like I'm having a wobble. That is said, right?
Yeah.
And then look, terracotta color, Theo, would be B space I space K and then a word with 3 letters. Because that could be brick red.
Oh, Rob, yes.
Right?
By the way, I assume our listeners just heard that incredible snort from my loyal companion Juice, so despite my mic issues in the last episode,
I did.
When I listened back to it, I heard so many amazing Zeus snores. And so, as a general disclaimer, when you do hear that noise, which sounds a bit like a sort of jet engine taking off in the background, it is just my beloved Shih Tzu, who I met in very interesting circumstances that I will regale the listeners with one day when the moment comes. But he's a lovely little thing.
Oh, and the moment is coming, folks.
It is coming. He had a haircut this week, so he's looking very smart at the moment. He's very trim. It takes pounds off him as well.
Ready for his spring outings.
Indeed. We're taking him up to Northumberland, actually, for Easter, so... Should have probably kept the hair on, because it'll be chilly up there. Okay, 9 across. Primitive, comma, brutal. 8 letters. 3rd letter R. Primitive or brutal. Something like... I was going to say primal, but that's obviously too close to primitive. It's not going to be that, and it doesn't fit. What's that word when you're...
Let's come back to it.
Yeah. Fashionable feature of Royal Ascot now has a 4th letter of L.
3 spaces, L space N space R space. Fashionable feature of Royal Ascot.
It's going to end in a T or a Y, isn't it? Probably,
yeah.
No, come back to it.
What's hatwear called?
Millinery. Oh!
Yeah, millinery. That's what I was thinking.
It fits! Wow. Now, how are we spelling millinary? I'm going to go Millinery. Millin. Was it millenary or millenary? Millen. It's more like... Oh, Rob.
No, I like millinary, Millinery.
Yeah.
Go with your instinct, Theo.
Also, I'm just calling it now. If it comes down to the spelling of millinery, we're giving ourselves a free pass on that one.
Wholeheartedly agree. So take us somewhere else. You just bashed that one out of the park.
Okay, let's go for a double worder. One must work to live. 4, 5. It couldn't be wage slave, could it?
Oh, that would be incredible. Wage slave could work, man. I don't see anything else that would be better.
Yeah, it kind of fits the clue as well, doesn't it? Because it's that one must work to live. So I can't. Yeah, I mean, yeah. I think it works. I think it's
I'm inclined to follow your instincts. I think they're sharp. So let's just keep going.
I mean, they're anything but sharp, but that's kind of you.
Yeah, but you know what? Often for crosswords, you need to be a little dulled. When you're too sharp, your mind focuses too quickly on things and it doesn't stay at the 30,000 foot view. And sometimes a little bit of tiredness or a good hangover can be your ally.
Yeah, maybe this is it. The secret.
Here, Theo, swelter. I'm feeding this into your hungover brain. Felter, swelter, 16 across. It is 8 letters. It is space V and then 5 spaces and then a T. So it's an 8-letter word for swelter with T as the last letter and V is the second letter. Overheat.
Oh, yes. Very good. So simple.
We're making a bit of progress here.
Halfway point, and I think we're pretty much halfway with the crossword. So this is shaping up for a grandstand finish.
Let's hope. So old for a crucifix, that's R and then 3 spaces.
Another Easter-related clue.
What could that be?
So,
yeah.
Which clue is that, Rob?
It's 17 down. It's the R from overheat. And it's old in brackets and then crucifix. And it starts with the letter R. Ooh. Could it be a rude?
It certainly could be.
Like R-O-O-D?
That is incredibly nicely done, as was Zeus's snore just there.
He approves. Let's take that as a sign.
That is Zeus's way of saying, good going, guys. Or good going, Rob. Rude.
Keep it going. So, shook with laughter, Theo, just to do a check-in on our difficult ones, is space O, 3 spaces, L, space E, space.
Yeah, I'm not getting there with that one. We can get one more letter for it if we get 14 down, which is one more maybe thought unlucky. Yeah. So presumably, and that's 6 letters, third letter E, so that could be 12. Yeah?
Oh, very nice. I was stuck on 3's a charm, and I wasn't making the connection in my head that it was one more, not one less. Okay, good.
Yeah.
Excellent. So shook with laughter is now space O space V space L space E space.
And we're not going to get any more letters.
I think let's not stare at that.
Yeah.
I think it's going to come or it's not going to come, but it won't come through staring. So let's go do something else. Even though is space L, 3 spaces, and then a T. Even though. 6 letters.
That's a tricky clue.
I agree.
Yeah.
Well, let's keep going here.
Yeah, let's keep moving around because we could get some more letters for that. So we have petty argument, which is 1 down, and that's 8 letters. Petty argument. I know there's a word, and it's just not coming. I was going to say quibble, but that doesn't fit.
Yeah. It doesn't, eh?
No, let's keep moving.
A bun fight?
That's not bad, actually. That's really not bad. Let's pen it.
Is that one word?
Well, that's the question. Look, I think it's better than we let's pen it. The test will be if we can get this 8 across.
I don't know, because look, it puts, for instance, on our even though would become space L space T, and I can't think of any word that would fit there. And it also makes our abbreviated section of text or soldier space A space, which I don't think is good either.
Or space A space F.
And I think bun fight is probably 2 words.
Yeah. Okay. Let's unpen, which we can easily do thanks to.
Let's keep that in the back of our mind.
Yeah. So what could this abbreviated section of text? Para. And a soldier, like a paratrooper.
Oh, yeah, like a paramilitary.
Yeah.
Okay, so
it's not bun fight.
Bun fight don't work. That's too bad. I would have liked that. Nice one, Theo. Okay,
Thanks.
para. That puts an A as the fourth letter of our petty argument. So eight letters with A as the fourth for a petty argument. Okay, what about 10 across? Inadequate, weak. E is the second letter. It's 6 letters long. Inadequate, weak.
Feeble.
So good. Theo, does feeble take a double E?
A double E, yeah.
Does it?
I'm pretty sure.
Oh, it's a squabble, Theo, for our petty
and it's
argument.
A squabble. Of course it is.
That was the genius of that B that you
Feeble squabble.
that B you gifted us.
Oh, Rob, this is
A feeble squabble. Ooh, Theo.
Go on. I love it when you say that. Yeah.
Let's go to 5 across because we've got a Q. We've got a Q in a promising position. So it's non-committal, evasive, 9 letters. The second letter is a Q, and the fourth last letter is an O. So non-committal, evasive, one would imagine it would be space Q, U, and then a vowel.
So they're being rather, I want to say something like, it's an equalifying. They're being a bit equalifying.
Yeah.
What is that word? There is a word.
Oh, to equivocate.
Equivocate. Equivocate. It works. Equivocal. Yes.
Yeah, like unequivocal would be the opposite of our non-committal. It would be a committal and
Yes.
direct.
That's exactly it.
Okay. Nice. That was teamwork. Likely to be responsible. That was good teamwork. So 2 down is likely dash to be responsible. Space I, 3 spaces E. To be responsible or likely.
Might have to come back to that. Nothing, brackets, informal. Oh, 4 down. Could that be, and it's 4 letters, second letter A. Could it be nada?
Ooh, for nothing informally. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
And of course, that would be formally nothing in Spanish, but I guess in English it is informal.
Good point. Our resident linguist.
Okay. Here, Theo.
Yeah.
Theo, we got to get this one. Primitive brutal is space R space A space I space. What if it ended in adic? ADIC.
Yeah.
Like, I thought that might jog you into giving the first 4 letters.
Like a sporadic type thing. Barbaric.
Oh, well done, Theo.
No, it was, again, teamwork. It was your ick.
Oh, liable. Theo, liable for likely to be responsible.
This is too much. This is now, you know what's going to happen here, don't you? We're going to get them all, and then we're going to get stuck on our shook with laughter. Okay, even though we still got to get.
Oh God, let's not. No. Okay.
Okay, so we got 2 words and we got 4.5 minutes. The clue is even though, and it's 6 letters. Second letter L, 4th letter E, 6th letter T. Even though, and 19 across, which is shook brackets with laughter, 9 letters, space O, space V, space L, space E, space. So let's just get our thinking caps on. We may have to just go into silent mode, which we can obviously edit down. Should we take one each, or shall we?
Do you want me to? Which one's grabbing you, Theo? Which one do you have an inkling on?
I'd probably rather go shook with laughter than even though, I think.
Okay, let's go.
It's the V in the middle of this.
Albeit.
Rob. Well done. Okay, all comes down to this. We've got 3.5 minutes.
I'm coming to team shook with laughter. We're all on the bench.
This is okay. Okay, we got time. We can try lots of combinations out. What could it end in? It could be an R.
It's got to ED.
ED, you reckon? Okay. It's got to be volved, no?
Oh, I got it.
Drum roll, please. Go on.
It's convulsed.
And I'm going to stop the clock. Hang on, let me just check I'm spelling this right. VULSED. Stop the clock on 2 minutes and 33 seconds, which, if this is all correct, is a record. Oh, Rob. Well done. That is the word that I thought I knew earlier and just couldn't think of. I think this is all right. I have 2 big question marks. One is the spelling of millinery. And if it is an E or an A, I'm worried it's an A.
Yep.
The other is if it's a wobble or a wibble, because they both do mean a feeling of uncertainty. But I think a wobble is much more likely.
I think wobble's right. Millinary, I think it comes down to whether that's an E or an A. And we put it as an E, so we spelt millinary MILLINERY. And if there is a hatter out there who is presently shaking his fist at his wireless and screaming, "How dare you misspell the name of my creations?"
In a mad way.
I apologize, but let's reveal that and see if we need to, actually. Yeah.
Rob, it's correct. It's fully correct. Millinery. I think I'm going to do check all now. We've done it. It's all correct. Play the fanfare. This is a moment to savour. Oh, man. I think we're going to have to do these in the evening every time. Clearly, being hungover and really tired.
Dude, you were on.
Is the secret. I definitely felt, and I have been, as I said in the last episode, I have been practicing a bit. I'm feeling a little bit more clued up than I was maybe when we first started this crossword odyssey. But no, that was a full team effort, Rob. I don't think I would have. I think I could have stared at convulsed for many more minutes and not seen it. So, and albeit was a brilliant get as well.
I could have stared at millinery for an equally long period of time. So
it was only you suggesting though that it could be another word for hats that actually kind of got me there in the end. So yeah, that's great. Well done us. Multiple balloons.
Teamwork makes the dream work.
It does indeed. I don't know what that. I've totally lost count of our overall tally now, but it's in the region of 8-5 or something like that.
So reflect on our achievement. You say we're 5 and 8. That doesn't sound so bad. That's sort of bottom third of the league tables for sure, but not necessarily in relegation positions. So I feel we can hold our heads high tomorrow when we stride into our non-existent offices.
To use a Premier League analogy, I think we're now someone like Brentford rather than Luton. But, I mean, no aspersions to Luton. They're actually doing quite well this season. Although I think, who's just been docked some points? The Premier League are docking points off everybody this season. That seems to be their thing. Because Everton have lost their...
Yeah, I saw that.
Everton have lost 5. And I think it's Nottingham Forest who have just lost 4. And meanwhile, I say this as a slightly embittered Newcastle United fan, but meanwhile, Manchester City are, sitting up there as usual with, their massive goal difference. And I think they're actually in 3rd place at the moment, but are probably going to ultimately win the thing. Yeah. And I think they've been accused of something like over 100 breaches of the financial fair play regulations, but yet are yet to be docked a single point. So yeah, that's just how it goes, I suppose.
That restores my faith in Great Britain, because thinking that the premier sports league in the United Kingdom would penalize its teams for financial skullduggery, to me seems very un-British. But now knowing that the very wealthy teams can get away with it has now reassured me that the British Isles remain true to their core values.
Yes. It's the feudal system in sporting terms, basically. The rich will remain so, and the poor will be punished. So yeah, you're right. It's just carrying on a great British tradition, and we should take great pride in that. But yes, no, I do understand the anger of those Everton and Nottingham Forest fans who maybe rightly feel a little bit aggrieved. It feels like faith in sport in general is creaking, and then there's all the goings on in golf with the Saudis. And how's hockey shaping up on that front? Is hockey completely corrupted, or is it okay?
The money side of things is like any other sport and has corrupted it entirely from beginning to end. I mean, every summer, so we do things differently here. They don't have the transfer window and buying players with cash. You have to trade players for other players or for picks in the upcoming draft when you get the young players or things like that. But every summer, a number of people's contracts expire, and once they reach a certain number of years in the league, when their contract expires, they become what's known as an unrestricted free agent, which means that any team in the league can bid for their services, and they go to whoever pays them the most, or they go to wherever they want to go, but invariably that's whoever pays them the most. And then you get these awful sob stories of teams turning their back on players turning their back on the teams that drafted them and saying, oh, I'd really like to stay here, but I got to think about my family and so forth and what's best for them. And we're talking about a contract that's $80 million as opposed to the team that's offering $78 million.
Yeah.
And they're saying that they'd love to stay, but just for the needs of their family.
Yeah, I'm just thinking of the kids, man.
My daughter's going to need a Porsche very soon.
Yeah. And she just won't be able to afford it on the £78 million contract.
That's the difference between hockey. You really get the human interest stories of the needs of the multimillionaires.
That's nice. I like that. I do quite like the draft system because I think it does. There's an element of leveling up between the top and the bottom. Although, of course, that doesn't necessarily work out because wasn't one of the quarterbacks in the recent Super Bowl
It's true.
the final pick in a draft, which I think is a great story. I mean that gives us all hope. All of us who were the last to be picked in PE may yet conquer our sports.
May yet have your moment of sporting glory, prime time in front of 340 million Americans.
Big time. That's my dream, Rob. It may happen.
I think we're making the prime time today.
Yeah, we've conquered our sport, our chosen sport of crosswording, and reached our Super Bowl final. And I think we can feel proud of that accomplishment, Rob. I was thinking the other day how for my 41 years of existence, I don't have much to show in terms of silverware, as it were. Not much in the trophy cabinet, because there isn't really a trophy you would award in the field of arts journalism. But I feel like I can wear these crossword victories with an element of pride and glory, and I can't quite put them in a cabinet, but I can certainly hang them on my metaphorical wall of fame with some measure of pride. I'm not sure that analogy quite worked, but nevertheless, all of which to say, in my very bleary way, I'm feeling uplifted by today's outcome.
Well, all I can say is that when we do get our crosswording trophy, I will add that to the only trophy I have ever won in my life, which is a 1987 Lakeshore Pitching Machine Champion Trophy.
Oh, what a moment.
That's been waiting a long time for some partnership up on the trophy case.
Just on a final anecdote, the talk of awards always reminds me of going to interview a very prominent figure in the theatre world who I shall keep anonymous. I did the interview at their house, and when I walked in, there was this table covered in awards next to the sort of entranceway, and I said, "Wow, that's a really impressive hall." And they said very loftily, "Oh yes, thank you. Those are the ones I'm actually throwing out." So I said, "I think that's what they call a nice problem to have." And then followed it up with, if I had a single one of those, it would be in pride of place on my mantelpiece. But, it's nice that you feel you can sling them in the tip because you've got so many others. So yeah, again, going back to this idea of the kind of Premier League table of those who get rewarded for their craft and those who get docked points. But yeah, this individual was very much the Manchester City of that particular.
Nice. Well, why don't we move on to our future glories? I think for you that will involve finally getting the night of sleep that has been deprived you by our late hour podcasting, and I will move on to reheating food, feeding children, and surviving my last night of solitude as a father.
Amen. Good luck with that, Rob, and see you on the other side, probably of Easter.
Yes, sir. Yeah, well, happy Easter to our listeners of a Christian persuasion. And yeah, we'll see you on the other side of a couple of bags of hot cross buns.
You've been listening to Two Across, a podcast by Theo Bosanquet and Rob Cole. If you like what you hear, please tell your friends and give us a follow on Twitter/X @2acrosspod. We would love to hear from you and your thoughts on the show, any improvements, not to do with our crosswording skills because those are beyond help, but any feedback you'd like to give us, we'd love to hear it. So please do, and see you next time.